I doom scroll way too much. So for the next 7 days, I'm gonna replace mindless scrolling with reading. To answer one question, can reading become my default response to boredom? Day 1 ended at 5 hours and 42 minutes of screen time, which doesn't sound amazing at first, but honestly I'm pretty happy with it. A lot of my screen time was dedicated towards work, and if you look at my Instagram screen time, I didn't spend time doom scrolling today. Maybe a little bit more YouTube than I needed, but that's okay. The book that I chose for this challenge is The Concise Mastery by Robert Greene, and I'm super glad that I did. The biggest thing that I took from the first 30 pages is the idea of finding your life's task. Greene talks about how there are things that we're naturally drawn to, but as we get older, finding our purpose can kind of drift us away from that path. It's more about paying attention to what you've always been interested in and actually exploring those things. So yeah, it was a pretty calm day 1. We'll see if it lasts. We're now on day 2. I ended today with 3 hours and 44 minutes of screen time. So far, it hasn't been very hard, but it's only been 2 days, so I'm not gonna act like my attention span is magically fixed. I got to page 60 of Mastery, and honestly, I enjoyed today's reading a lot more than yesterday's. A lot of today's section went into Charles Darwin's life and kind of just how he struggled with purpose until he found something that he was genuinely interested in. Biggest takeaway from today's reading is definitely that you cannot force yourself down a path that you don't enjoy. You could probably get away with it for a while, but eventually you're gonna drift away or just realize that you're not satisfied. But when you actually do what you enjoy, you not only do it more often, you actually enjoy the process of getting better at it. And I really like that idea because grinding and putting the hours in doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself down a path that you don't want to go down. But yeah, I'm at page 60 now, and honestly I'm enjoying the book a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really starting to like this book. I made it to page 90 today. It went pretty heavily into Michael Faraday's life. He was an insanely curious person, and because he pursued that curiosity, people began to notice his ambition. That led to him finding mentors, getting opportunities, and eventually going on to make some pretty massive scientific discoveries. I think this builds what I was talking about yesterday. When you find something that you genuinely enjoy, you become obsessed with getting better at it. But as far as the challenge goes, I'm 3 days in now. Today I had around 4 hours of screen time. I'm finding it super refreshing to not be on my phone as often. It's almost like I have a little bit more mental clarity. But yeah, that's 90 pages down. We got 4 days left. 4 hours of screen time on day 4. Kind of fitting. But honestly, the main thing that I noticed today is how reading's definitely feeling like less of a chore and more of something that I actually want to do. I'm really loving how Robert Greene is using the lives of extremely successful people to show real world examples of the ideas that he's talking about. Today, that was Benjamin Franklin. What caught my attention most is not the success that he had, but how much he had to learn from the people around him. He dealt with a lot of difficult relationships, people deceiving him, and he had to learn that understanding people's character is a skill in itself. And this transitions so perfectly into what Greene calls the 7 deadly realities. The ones that stood out to me the most were definitely self-obsession, laziness, and envy. And none of these so-called 7 deadly realities are things that you can avoid. You're gonna deal with people who are envious or self-obsessed or lazy, and you're probably gonna have moments where you embody all of those yourself. The real lesson is in understanding all of these traits and learning how they can affect the way that people act. Okay, so we're on day 5 now, and 150 pages in, I'm definitely starting to notice my first critique of the book. The book is continuing to follow the exact same structure, and I think it's starting to get a little bit repetitive. Someone extremely successful is introduced, we go into their life, and use them as a real-world example of the ideas that Greene is portraying about mastery. And I really like that approach, but after 150 pages, it is beginning to feel slightly repetitive. You kind of know what to expect from each section before you even read it. And I think even with an educational book, having an element of surprise is valuable just because you never know what's going to come next. But I think the fact that my only gripe with the book is the structure just goes to prove that the lessons inside of it are actually valuable. We're on to day 6 now, today's reading being mostly about social intelligence just in terms of dealing with the people around you. Key points from today are being aware of how others perceive you, letting your work speak for itself, and learning how to deal with difficult people without letting them distract you from what you're trying to accomplish. And I think a major reason why I like this book is that I agree with Greene on a lot of the ideas that he talks about. It doesn't really feel like I'm learning a bunch of new ideas, more like Greene is putting words to ideas that I've already thought about but never really knew how to explain. So there's only 30 pages left in the book for me, which means tomorrow I'll not only be finishing the book but completing the challenge. Definitely super excited to look back on this week and reflect on it. And that's it. I just finished the last 30 pages. I'm officially done with the book. Overall rating for the book, a 7.5 out of 10. I do think the book can get a little bit repetitive at times, but the overall lessons are definitely something that I found value in. It's still pretty early, so I'm gonna go through the rest of my day and check back in tonight. Then we'll look at my final screen time and I'll give my actual thoughts on how this whole week went. Alright, now, day 7 is basically over. Screen time for today being 3 hours and 32 minutes. I'm really glad that I did this challenge. Now, these 7 days didn't completely change my relationship with my phone, but I can definitely see myself reading for fun now. So looking back on the week, I think I got 3 things out of it. Less mindless screen time, I actually learned something, and reading became enjoyable. And I definitely enjoyed learning that I don't need to create more free time to add new hobbies to my life. I just need to change what I'm doing with the free time that I already have. 30 minutes on your phone and 30 minutes with a book take up the same amount of your day, but you'll feel completely different after each one.